Where is the perfect community to start growing and healing and feeling a sense of joy after you've endured a lot of difficult situations from your past? We're going to talk about it today, so stay tuned. My name is Crystal Turner. I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner who's going holistic because I know to be whole is to be healed. And I'm the owner of Mentally Magnificent. I am in this space today talking about the holy trinity of community. What is that community that really gives us this sense of power? And again, puts us in a place where we can move forward with real support and joy. And there are different communities that we could talk about, but we're going to talk about a particular community today and the holy trinity of that, the three parts of that that make it so empowering and so powerful. But before we go further, if you could hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and put this in notifications, hit your notifications button so that you can be informed when I post another video, which is weekly, that I'm posting new content to this channel. So this holy trinity of community is something that is really important, and I'm going to explain why each part is important. So holy trinity, we're talking about three parts, and this is a platform where I'm talking about holistic help, holistic healing. Now there are all types of communities. There is the community that we live in, this broad community, right? There's the community of the country that you're in. There's a community of your friend network. They're all different types of community. There can be communities that are specific to dealing with mental health challenges. There could be spiritual communities. There are a lot of different communities. I used to always say that the very first community that we interact with is the community that we're born into. The family that we're born into is our first community. It is a very empowering, or I don't want to say empowering because it's not always empowering, but it's a very impactful community because we're in that community the most, particularly in our fundamental years when we're getting all of our foundational beliefs, our view of the world. So much of that comes from the family that we're born into. And I did used to say that that is our first community. And I think that's the first community that we come to with awareness when we're talking about externally. That community it is very important, and we'll talk about that at a different time. But the community that is really impactful that we don't really talk about is this inner community that we have, and that is consisting of our mind, our body, and our spirit. And I want to talk about how this community, how we can utilize each part of it to bring ourselves to a better state of being. A lot of times when I am seeing patients in practice, many people ask when they're dealing with mental health challenges, or they're on medication, or they're experiencing certain emotions, they may ask things as, am I going to always feel like this? Will I ever be free from feeling this way? Will I ever be free from having to take these medications? And there's never this one particular answer because everyone's situation is different. But one of the things I do say, however, is and question is, when it comes to our mind, our body, and our spirit, are we maximizing those parts of us? Because oftentimes we are not, because we are not taught to do that. And so we don't get the maximum benefit from those parts, which each one supports each other. They're interconnected. They impact one another. And I'm not saying that, they all are equally powerful as the other, but they all have a role that we can use to help bring us to the optimal sense of who it is that we want to be, or they at least support us in getting there. And so for anything to support us, or to help us, if it's functioning at its best, or at least better than where it is now, that's going to be of a benefit. So we're going to talk about these three parts: mind, body, spirit. I'm going to talk about body first because body is this part, the physical aspect of us. It is the most fragile part of us, but also, there could be two different takes on this. Some people feel like the body, the physical, isn't really as important if we have the spiritual. Some people feel like the physical is important so important, is more important than anything. So it could be on two different ends that you may feel. But what I want to really say about the physical aspect of who we are is let's talk about maximizing that. I remember when before I had ever gotten into holistic health, and when I did get into holistic health, it was the things that I started doing for myself from a physical standpoint that started igniting me in my mental, and that also ignited me in my spiritual. And this can go in different directions. One could ignite you first, but for many people, when we're not even aware of how we're thinking, we're just not even connecting. And when we're not really connecting to our utmost spiritually, sometimes this physical part is a big part because it's what many of us see as the most truest part of who we are. Even though I would, challenge that now, but being in this life experience, we can really look at our physical as being the what's true because it's here, we're seeing it, we're feeling it. But physical part of us is important, however, because when it comes to our well-being mentally, there are so many things that we could do better for ourselves that can ignite our physical body. Our body is made up of cells, and these cells are there to do what it is that we commanded to do, really through our thoughts. But our cells, if they're functioning at a lower capacity because they're not getting the nourishment to feed the cells, because we're not, hydrating ourselves, because we're not getting physical exercise to get our blood circulating to just make all the systems function together, then we get subpar results. Many people who are dealing with mental health challenges, they have no energy, they don't have the desire, they don't have the motivation. And a lot of times when that happens, we eat the things that are to the most disadvantage to our body, or that gives us the least in our body. And so I know one of the biggest things for me, so I'm not here to preach to anyone about my path and going plant-based, but it was part of my personal truth that when I began to eat differently, when I began to utilize more plants in my diet, that I began to feel different. I began to have less anxiety. I began to have less depression. It didn't cure all the things, but it was definitely a shift that was very noticeable that encouraged me to continue on that path. And so, but beyond that, if it's that you eat what you eat, getting more of the things that are going to truly feed the cells, doing the exercises that speak to you, that help you to feel strength or give you more energy, because exercise should ultimately give us more energy. Getting out and being able to get fresh air, getting hydrated, doing the things that would, really help ourselves, hydration, getting the nourishment, eating foods that, are nourished by the sun. These things that we can do physically are stretching. All these things are that part that we don't necessarily do in our lives that can be important. And one thing when it comes to our nutrition is that, especially when we're talking about depression and anxiety, a lot of the chemicals that we're trying to get through medication in our brain, there's more of it in our gut. And so if we make our gut healthy, give it healthy bacteria, give it healthy foods that support that whole process, then it communicates with the brain at more ease, with more flow. And you can see even more benefit because your diet is now one that helps to maximize those things. So maximizing our physical being is important to seeing how there's a connection to that and how we're feeling emotionally. But then there is our mind, which is completely powerful. And a lot of times we are on autopilot when it comes to our thoughts. We experience things early in life. Those experiences give us beliefs about who it is that we are, and we carry those beliefs with us throughout life. Even if these beliefs are to our disadvantage, which many times they are, we carry these beliefs with us throughout the course of our life. Our thoughts control us. We deal with a lot of fear or anxiety or depression. These things can lead how we live our life, the decisions that we make, the people that we choose to be around or not be around. and the way that we view ourselves, which is going to completely dictate how we move in the world, how we experience the world, our ability to receive joy in this world. Because there has to be this inside of us through our thoughts, and our inner presence is really where we get to see how our perceptions of the world are impacting us, and also through the way that we feel and think, comes our what the vibration is that we carry. So if we're having very lower nature thoughts, self-defeating thoughts, thoughts of not being good enough, think about this. We're definitely going to take that experience into the room that we walk in. When we talk about people who can walk in and shift the energy in the room, that could go both ways. You could have somebody who is very positive, uplifting, kind of floating through life, loving, and they step into a space, and people feel that, they notice that, right? They connect with it. They want to be around that person more. But there also is that person who can come and have a very negative outlook, be very angry, be very pessimistic, and bring that energy into a space as well. So it goes both ways, but it all has to do with the vibration that we're carrying. And that is coming from the thoughts and the emotions that we have inside that are oftentimes are really formulated from earlier experiences and patterns that we've kept, that we don't necessarily walk through life with an awareness of these things. Because I think if we really had an awareness, we would do the things to shift so that we could have a better experience in our experiences. So it's the mind, it's the body, and then it's our spirit. Our spirit is really that part of us that's beyond this physical. It's the part of us that's beyond the physical, and so many times we're not connected with our spirit because we are so much paying attention to this physical as the ultimate reality of our experience. And while there are things happening in our physical experience, it's our spirit that really can transcend all of that. And so when I talk about spirit, I'm not necessarily talking about a religion. I'm talking about the practices that you take on that help you to be more connected with who you are as spirit as opposed to who you are in the physical. And understanding how your spirit and your mind, these two especially, really are impacting what you're experiencing in this physical life. So if we're more connected with our spirit, we can, not be so connected to the conditions of this life. Meaning, if you're having some turmoil or difficulties in this life, we understand that there's something bigger, there's something more that we are here for, or even understanding in some thought that we come here to have these experiences so that the soul can learn something. So if I come into an experience and I look at it from a victim standpoint, it's hard to do that when you're connected to spirit. If you're coming from the standpoint of, my soul came here to learn something, then it's like there's a point to even the things that I'm experiencing. There's a point to it. And so you can't be a victim when you see that there's a bigger thing that you're really learning from the experience, as opposed to the experience being the thing that's impacting your spirit, the thing being the physical experience is impacting your thought process. So understanding where the larger part of us really is and functioning from that is that part of spirit that we can bring into our life experience. We can be reconnected with it. It's like we are born here for a purpose, but when we come into this physical life, we get so connected to the physical experience that we forget who it is that we are spiritually and why we are here. And so a large part of life is remembering why we are here. Because when we remember that, then we can use all of these life experiences as alchemy, really. It's really to transform us to the better, back to our higher self, that spirit, take us right back there, and reconnect. And then the beautiful thing about that too is even through the difficult experiences, we've experienced, we have learned from them. So they didn't take us out, they developed us because we took on the lessons that those experiences brought, and we didn't let those experiences be the definition of who it is that we are, because we already know who we are in spirit. So just thinking about these three parts of us, this inner community, this holy trinity, mind, body, and spirit, that's within us, that if we develop each of them more, how much more powerful we are in this life, and also how we can recognize that we create in our life. We are not the ultimate, we are not the ultimate creator. We are not that. But we come from the creator, which means we have creating capability in each one of us. And creativity is not just painting a picture on a canvas. It's not just being able to create music, even though those are beautiful expressions of creativity, but we're actually creating our experiences in our life based off of how aware we are in our spirit, based off of the thoughts and the emotions that we connect with and that we bring into our inner world, and then how we see that displayed in the outer world, this world that we seem to think is the truest part of us because it's what we feel from. We feel all the emotions of this physical life. We feel the pain, we feel the joy, we feel all of it in this physical life. But I would say that it's not the most powerful part of us. It is simply it's giving us guidance on where we are internally, what we're experiencing in this external world. And that's not about blame, but that is about accountability. And if we understand accountability is more powerful, it's not blame, it's power, to recognize the accountability you have in your life, because what that means is no one else has power over your life. You have the power over your life. So to be able to see accountability as a term of this part of you that really is in control, then the other experiences that maybe you have believed have had the control, you can start shifting that and seeing that's not where the control is. You have the control. I have the control in my own life. So let me start utilizing these parts of me to create what it is that I really want in this life. So that's what I want to share with you today. Let me know in the comments what you think. Please remember to like this video so that this information can be sent to more people. Share this content with someone who you think could benefit, and then subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back in a week to talk about my next topic as I really sit and talk about the holistic part of who it is that we are, mind, body, and spirit, for a better emotional experience in this life. Take care.